Maybe your program's already finished with tryouts. Depends where you are in the state. And potentially you are a coach of a different sport. You could be beginning your high school basketball season. That's what this is inspired by. Or you could be beginning your club season. It could be a rec season. Now, I have 3 things that you must do in order to get buy-in from day one. You are listening to the Beyond the Scoreboard Podcast, transforming athletes into leaders on and off the court with host Coach Furtado. Coaches, are you ready to take your passion for coaching and turn it into a full-time career? I know the challenges firsthand, but the Make Money Coaching Sports program helped me take BTG basketball full-time. If you're tired of juggling coaching part-time and want to fully focus on doing what you love, this business accelerator will give you the tools and support to make it happen. Hit the link in the show notes below to learn more and start living your dream. Coaches, basketball season is right around the corner. Tryouts maybe next week. Maybe your program's already finished with tryouts. Depends where you are in the state. And potentially you are a coach of a different sport. This episode is for coaches who are beginning a season. You could be beginning your high school basketball season. That's what this is inspired by. Or you could be beginning your club season. It could be a rec season. This episode gives you the tools you need to start your season strong, to get buy-in from day one that I have experience from in the past as a freshman and sophomore coach and a JV boys basketball coach. One of the things that I find to be the best is to get buy-in by giving your athletes input. Now, before we do that, I have 3 things that you must do in order to get buy-in from day one. And number 1, what I just worked on this morning is you need to paint the vision for your athletes. You need to clearly communicate what your philosophy is and how they will fit into that philosophy. So for basketball purposes, right? I am the JV boys basketball coach coming up this year for Pacifica Christian, and my job as a JV boys basketball team, my philosophy is I have to prepare these athletes to be varsity level basketball players at Pacifica Christian, right? Within the system, how can I prepare? So that is what I'm leading with, right? The vision I'm going to be painting, right? That I'm going to be echoing what the varsity coach wants, turning defense to offense. So one of my principles to help athletes become ready to play varsity basketball is turning defense into offense. So what does that mean? And I'll give an example. So turning defense into offense. And we really want to be clear on what the standards are in terms of what that defense looks like, or whatever that offense, whatever your philosophy is, you want to clearly articulate it. And after that, you want to demonstrate, right? If you are not able to physically demonstrate yourself, you need to find film, footage of professional athletes, collegiate athletes, maybe even high school athletes executing that vision. Your athletes need to be able to articulate it and clearly communicate it. And with that being said, they also need that mental image, something that they see, especially if you're demanding them play tough defense and they never have before. That's going to be something that's new for them. That's why painting that vision is important, and also giving them an image or a video or a demonstration that aligns with that vision that you painted. Now, next, this is arguably the most important part to getting buy-in day one, is creating team agreements. Now, this is not completely giving the keys to the team and saying, hey, you guys run it. And I actually have had some experience with trial and error. And that's why I say step 1 is to paint your vision, is to not just completely give the keys, because I have experienced sometimes giving too much freedom potentially to athletes. And that's why I want to create a system first, paint the vision of the system, how they'll fit into the system, and then we'll create those team agreements. So team agreements, things that you can give your athletes a say on, it's going to depend on you as a coach, right? You as a coach, you want to be able to relinquish some control. Maybe it's the warm-ups that they do pre-game, right? Giving them an opportunity to create team agreements, right? On let's agree to how we are going to warm up. And Team agreements can be how we are going to show up for practice. Do we agree to show up to practice 10 minutes early? Do you agree to that? And getting an actual verbal yes, and giving them an opportunity to add 2 to 3 agreements, right? You can have your own agreements as well, your expectations. However, if we only give our expectations, then it's coach's team. It's not our team. We want to make it our team. So one of the easiest ways to do this is to just have them write down what are some of the things that you feel like are important that all great teams do, right? They'll write that down. They get that opportunity to individually reflect, because a lot of times if you just have them raise their hand, your loudest players are going to be the only ones participating. And we want to make sure that everyone on the team feels like their voice is valid and heard, even if they are the last person on the bench. Of course, you may have some players whose voices and opinions do matter more than others just because of the leadership they've developed and the type of person they are. Maybe they're a senior versus a freshman. Now, with that being said, then we'll have them share in small groups, right? And pick some of the best ideas. Boom, small groups, I mean 2 to 3, right? Depends on the sport that you are doing, right? And the size of your team. And then last, right, your team, you'll come up with 5 to 7 agreements. You could even do 3. It kind of depends on, again, your philosophy. Honestly, sometimes less is more, and you can kind of put some of the, topics in the subtopics like, work hard, hustle, right? You can kind of lump those into 1 or 2, right? Hustle can be the value, or work hard. They're kind of synonymous. So like less is more with what you put in terms of agreements. Now, let's say it's hard work, showing up early, playing as one. We'll say those are the 3 agreements. Now, with that being said, right, we write those down, and those are agreements that you bring up and talk about all the time, which leads me to my last point, which is what is most important, and I'm, most excited about improving myself as a coach, is giving the team an opportunity to establish accountability if they don't meet that. So again, let's say, one thing that's a part of our program is you have to bring your practice jerseys. You give them an opportunity. Hey, what do you all think is a fair punishment, right, for getting your practice jerseys? And a lot of times they actually come up with harsher punishments or penalties than even I think as a coach. However, if they say it, if they talk about, this is the accountability, right? If we don't play hard, if we don't hustle in practice, this is what happens. We talked about this in our team meeting, right? So when you bring it up, hey, you all are not meeting the expectations, the agreements that we talked about, and this is the accountability we talked about. All right, we're going to run 4 lines. We're going to run 2 lines, whatever it is, right? We're going to do 20 push-ups. And if they talk about that accountability, they're going to start holding each other accountable. Hey, look, we're going to have to do 2 lines, right? If we don't bring our practice jerseys. Hey, we're going to have to, sprint, and we're going to have to do extra sprints at the end of practice if we don't play hard, right, on the defensive end, in a game. Whatever those, kind of agreements are, right? So that gives them that opportunity, because we have to have high standards for those agreements. And it's our job as coaches to push them up. And then you also are giving them an opportunity to hold themselves accountable, right? We want to utilize sports to teach life lessons. And those life lessons that we get the opportunity to teach is having high standards for themselves and holding themselves accountable. If we can do that, we're really helping our athletes prepare for life beyond the game. So to summarize, we, number 1, have to paint the vision of our philosophy. Number 2, we create team agreements, and we invite our athletes in to help build those team agreements. And you get that verbal yes. Yes, I do agree to, yes, we do agree to X and X. And then last is establishing accountability if those agreements are broken or those standards are not met. That way, you'll be surprised when you really invite them to think, to be a part of the team process. You will get so much more buy-in than if you are the coach and you are just always giving orders and expectations. A lot of times they'll know you're right and they won't feel a part of the process. That's how you get day 1 buy-in. Appreciate you all for listening to this episode. Share this with a coaching friend or someone you feel like would get a lot out of this. I'm really excited for basketball season. I'm back from the honeymoon. I've had about 2 months of a break from coaching, and a lot of my ideas are flowing. So I'm looking forward to that and looking forward to sharing more with you all on how to be a better coach for parents, how to be a better resource for your athletes. We are your weekly blueprint for transforming youth sports. So, Coach Furtado out. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend, coach, or parent you feel like would get value from this episode. It's our responsibility to impact as many parents and coaches who are the ones that are impacting our athletes. That's how we create a ripple effect. So thank you for being a part of our community, and we look forward to serving you all next week.